Hey, what up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you. I hope everybody after WWE Monday Night Raw went over to WWE Network and watched the preview for the Kliq Rules DVD/Blu-ray, which will be getting released tomorrow. I had planned on going to Best Buy to pick this up. Normally, I order my WWE DVDs and Blu-rays through Amazon Prime for the free shipping and getting them on the day they released. But they didn't have a good price on the 2-disc Blu-ray. I believe they had it at $27.99. Best Buy was going to beat them for $22.99. So I had sort of planned out that I was going to drive to Best Buy after going to the gym before work tomorrow and pick that up. But I'm not looking to really cry and get any tears over here. But on the way to the gym today, my truck broke down and it's in the shop. I will not be getting it back in time. So this is a DVD that maybe I should have just ponied up and paid the $5 and got it shipped in and received it. After watching the special, which was the 30-minute commercial, the first look on WWE Network, this looks like a really badass, really good, really well put together DVD documentary. Plus, with the picking it up on Blu-ray, I believe it's going to have about 20 matches on there, I believe, from looking at the WWE, or it's not even WWE DVD news anymore. It's Wrestling DVD Network. They just reestablished their new name. They're always going to be WWE DVD News to me, but you can go on over there and check out the list of what they have going down. But from watching the 30-minute commercial here, it was like pretty much like they were showing you the documentary, which I'm sure once I actually get the documentary and I start watching it, it'll actually be like it's cut up into spots, so it's not like you're actually getting to watch it. But I really wasn't that excited about the Monday Night War, the last set that just recently came out, until I watched the preview, which was just a sit-down interview that they filmed with Sting and Triple H separately, talking about the Monday Night Wars episodes, without it being one of the ones that they showed in between on the DVD and the Blu-ray. I didn't think I needed to have that because of the fact of you can already watch the episodes on the network, so you don't really need to go out and buy them again. But you have to get it in order to get the Triple H and Sting stuff. So I'm looking for a good deal on that, and as soon as I can find one, I'll pick that up just to watch those things. And I'm sure if I'm watching those, I'll end up watching the episodes once again. But about the Kliq Rules, of course, the Kliq would be Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Triple H, X-Pac. And these guys were together, and I mean they are getting over the fact that before there was DX, before there was the NWO, these guys were together, and they were a big part of that weird era of the WWF, where Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart were becoming the main event guys. Hulk Hogan had left. He was not in the picture, and Vince was really starting to struggle. It wasn't like WCW was blowing anything away, but wrestling in those 90s years was really falling off the map. They were losing their Main Street appeal. They were losing being a big part of pop culture. Wrestling had just really gotten stale, and it didn't really matter what you put there. Of course, everybody talks about Diesel, Kevin Nash's run as WWF champion, being one of the worst strong champions of all time. And basically, it took these group of guys to really sort of repackage WWF and wrestling as whole to making it cool once again. If you think about the boom period which WCW and the NWO launched with Vince having to repackage everything and get it into the Attitude Era, which was led by Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and The Undertaker. If these guys wouldn't have gotten in the ear of Vince McMahon back in the day, who knows what wrestling would even be. I mean, there's been stories about how Vince was, really having to borrow and really having to make a lot of deals in order just to keep in business and what was going on. Of course, WCW had Turner's money at this time, so even though they were even lower than what WWF was doing with Vince McMahon at the time, Vince was really getting down to the point where we were wondering if there was even going to be another day for WWF. But the Kliq are guys that really, changed the business by being going into the office as a pact. Having strength in numbers, the way that Lex Luger put it. That basically they were going in there knowing that because they had the guys that were at the top of the card, they had the guys that were having the best matches of the night, they were going to be able to get what they wanted from Vince, because you didn't want to make these guys mad where they would leave. You can look at this group, and Triple H. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I can't remember how many titles he's held over his career. I think it's 14. Kevin Nash just went into the Hall of Fame last year, a champion for WWF, for WCW, a big-time legend. Scott Hall went into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 30. X-Pac's a guy that more than likely is not going to go into the Hall of Fame. Shawn Michaels, even though he had the long break in his wrestling career, is looked at as one of the best wrestlers there's ever been. There's many people who put Shawn as one of the greatest wrestlers that anybody's ever seen. Definitely, he's up there on my list. Him and Kurt Angle, Bret Hart, guys that when you look back and you want to watch great technical wrestling matches, Shawn's a guy that you're going to want to do that with. But definitely when you think about the Kliq, you think about the wars that these guys had. They bring up the fact that the backstage faction, which was the BSK, Rikishi, Undertaker, Godfather, aka Kama at the time. You had one of the Godwins was in there. Undertaker was one of the big guys. Also Yokozuna. These guys would sit in the back and they'd play dominoes. And these are some of the guys that basically were against what the Kliq was going against. And plus you had other guys like Lex Luger, Davey Boy Smith, Bam Bam Bigelow, very outspoken over the past years in shoot interviews and things like that about how they think the Kliq really hurt what they were doing. I think that Shawn put it best when this thing starts. Basically it's 20 years later. Why are we still sitting here? Why are we still talking about the Kliq? And basically Shawn is like, because when you look back at it, we raised our voices and we were very outspoken about what was going on in WWF at the time. But when you look back at what we were talking about, we were right. And a lot of people don't give us credit for that. And definitely, they talk about when there was a house show, and a lot of people talk about this as the night the Kliq went on strike, where basically, if you know anything about the backstage business at house shows, your big time leaders, Vince McMahon and Triple H today, they don't go to house shows. They're ran by the agents, and most of the time they really don't have any problems because as shows are planned, they're booked well in ahead. Nobody has a problem with what the finish is going to be because the finish has been told to them they know it passes on down the line. But basically, they had a drawing point where they basically said, what was going on in the show sucked. Nobody would want to come see it. The whole, federation as a whole, the whole, territory, was the shits. So basically, Jerry Briscoe and Vince McMahon had to jump on a flight. They had to fly to this house show. They had to sit down in the conference room, and basically they drew up what they thought the territory should be. They had a list of guys, what's cool, what's bad, who needs to be repackaged, who just needs to be fired. And, Vince had to go along with what they were saying because I think a good part of them felt that, this was true. These guys, if you look at Kevin Nash, honestly, in my mind, Kevin Nash is one of the coolest wrestlers there's ever been. When he went to WCW, he was very well spoken about what he thought the NWO shirt should have been. And he made a lot of decisions for the NWO to make them stay cool. If you think about, how wrestling shirts were back in the day, most of the time they had a big old picture of the wrestler that, fans would not want to wear outside of the wrestling event. Maybe you go to the show and your favorite wrestler is Shawn Michaels, so you end up buying this picture with a shirt and it's got a big old picture of Shawn on it. But are you gonna wear that, out on the street walking around town? You want a logo, and basically he told Bischoff to make the logo just look at very guerrilla, very street. Just make it look like you drew it with a can of spray paint real fast. The box NWO done. If you think about when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO as the third man, they sat down to have the promos, and Hulk Hogan went on an old 80s style wrestling promo, and it was Kevin Nash that pulled Bischoff aside and he said, "This ain't cool. This ain't gonna fly. It needs to be, just take whatever he says and cut it up. to where it's very small sentences about, we run the we won the world, things like that. And that's all it needs to be said. We don't need to talk for 10 minutes. Just, cut to the bullet points and, do the flashes with the black and white NWO to make it look like it's really, backstage. Us just shooting this, with this small handheld camera instead of having this big old set and crew, because there was just supposed to be 3 guys being sent down here to take over. We're not going to be able to run the trucks. We're not going to be able to run the cameramen. It's just not the way that it's going to be. But these guys really did run the business. They're 5 of the biggest names that have ever been out there. I understand if you want to debate about 1, 2, 3 Kid and you want to debate about X-Pac, but, I can name you matches that were really good. Almost every match of 1, 2, 3 Kid going up against Razor Ramon, 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Bret Hart, which I believe is on an episode of Wrestling Challenge or Wrestling Superstars. It was when Bret became champion and they actually had him defending the WWF Championship on the show. He had a really great match against Virgil as well. Definitely, if you go back and you watch this sort of era when In Your House was first coming out, I mean, definitely you have the dudes with attitudes. You have, Shawn versus Diesel. You have Diesel and Shawn as a tag team. You've got, Shawn versus Razor. You've got Diesel versus Razor. Just about any combination. Even the WWF Raw set, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I can't remember the exact name is of it, but they have a ton of great matches on there. From that, the best of Monday Night Raw. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but very, very good stuff. Make sure you get on over to Amazon. Make sure you get on over to Best Buy. Anywhere that you can pick this up. This is the DVD that you're going to want as a part of your collection to watch this documentary, plus to have the assortment of matches that are going to go along with it. So, the Kliq Rules tomorrow, it's going to be a big one. Peace out, everybody.